My name is Alexei. I'm glad to see you here today on our joint webinar on indoor positioning and asset tracking in warehouses with Navigine and our key hardware partner, Minew. I'm CEO of Navigine and a provider of indoor positioning and asset tracking solutions with over 500 implementations worldwide, delivering an asset tracking with one of the best total cost of ownership for our partners. Today, I'm joined by Ethan, product manager at Minew, responsible for the management of the entire life cycle of Minew product, and my colleague Margarita, who is a partnership manager, responsible for communication with our new and existing partners. Today, we will discuss solution jointly developed by Navigine and Minew for the warehouse industry. We will explore this topic from two sides. From the side of an infrastructure provider, represented today by Minew, and from the side of an asset tracking software developer, Navigine. I hope you will find our webinar useful, and if you have any questions, feel free to write them in our chat room, and we will gladly answer them during the Q&A session at the end of our webinar. So, let's go. Ethan, could you please introduce Minew to the audience and tell us what are the most common challenges that we can address together, providing end-to-end joint solution for indoor positioning and asset tracking for warehouses? Ethan, sorry, you're muted now.
Hello?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hey guys, my name is Ethan, the product manager from Minew. I'm responsible for the location-based service and product development. Today, I'm so glad to be here to talk a little bit about the asset tracking in warehouse management. So when it comes to Minew, it was founded in 2007. We've been focusing on the IoT hardware products, design and manufacturing for 15 years of Bluetooth radio frequency experience. And we've got over 100 patents. And in the last years, in 2021, we have provided over 3 million pieces of hardware devices to the partners and the customers around the world, like the BLE tags and sensors, gateways, and so forth. So to answer the questions from the Alexei, when talking about the understanding about use cases and the challenges, that's cool questions. The Navigine is focusing on the application layer, which is really great solutions provider, and Minew is just the hardware designer for many years in the physical layer. So you take that data that comes through our sensors, and you're turning it into a management report to run your own business. So I can give you a lot of use cases. For example, how much time is your packet spending at each station as it moves from the point A to point B inside a factory? Or you can say how long it's going to take through the whole working process. Has your high value access like a forklift moved out of specific zone or into another zone? It's your sensor temperature out of the bounds in a certain space at a certain time. The COVID is still being around, so you must care about if the vaccine shipment stay where it needs to stay from a temperature perspective during the transportation or inside a warehouse of the hospital. And how many equipment that I'm going to use? Can I reduce the amount of equipment that I have on hands, or do I need to get more because I'm working on it? How long did my contractor spend at any given site? Is my billing correct? It's my expense correct on that which the borrower have not returned their plates or tools, so that I can go to charge them for additional revenue and so forth. So there's so many different things that the use case can inspire how you report for management and analyze the data to drive your business more efficient and more effective, and even drive down the labor cost to get the jobs done. So when talking about the challenges, I think the number one challenges would be the lack of the data visibility. Please, the next slide. Yeah, talking about the challenges, I think the number one, the challenges for the asset tracking in warehouse management. For example, without the data visibility, we have no idea what time and where the packet's going through. and whether the temperature have changed or not is still within the specific range. If not, that may cause a lot of problems, like the wet scene's not going to work for people's health. It's unaffected. You know, the meat and the vegetables in the cold rooms will become definitely bad for the consumers. And the warehouse forklifts, the pallets may be lost in different transfer, or even highlight value tubes like a drill may be stolen by somebody. So that's the number one challenges. The second challenge, as you can see in the slide, is the loopholes for the personnel security. We talking about the asset tracking, but don't forget about the people in the warehouse, because the people is the most important access for the company also. Think about if the workers do not have smart badge for location management, they may step into dangerous places or area by accidents, and even cannot send signals to the outside for help. Right? You know, think about in the emergency evacuation, the warehouse manager has no idea if there's still anyone inside the building, which is very dangerous, I think. So at this point, I think the safety of the personnel must be guaranteed based on the real-time location system. And the third one I want to share with anyone is the rising labor cost and the lack of automation. For example, many equipment are not got into an IT system in time, which makes it hard to achieve automatic asset counting. Instead, it still need inefficient manual operations like one by one counting. That's really old-fashioned for a warehouse, I think. And the last one is going to be the poor data visibility for environment. As you can see the slide, warehouse management actually includes not only the system monitoring of assets or personnel, but also the collection of environmental data. It is totally complete warehouse management system. For example, whether the room is occupied or not, whether the room is crowded or not, whether the temperature or humidity is good enough for the room user or for the access storage, etc. So these are the challenges that I think for the asset tracking for the warehousing. So above this challenges we talking about, Minew is it's a hardware designer for the IoT. So we bring this starter kit for today to anyone. So please check out the links for the Minew. So any questions for this starter kit?
Ethan, I think we should continue with the presentation and go back to the question at the end.
Okay. I just introduce
You can give a brief introduction of the IoT starter kits for warehouses. I mean, the main hardware pieces that it includes, and basically maybe some scenarios that we can deploy to that. That'd be very helpful.
Okay, talk a little bit about our starter kit. Our starter kit is mainly to help developers to build their solution quickly. They just need to focus on their application layer. We provide these complete hardware devices and support services in the right scenarios they need. Make their developing cycle faster and more efficient. And they can just quickly verify their ideas and put into practice. Yeah, at present, the speed of the technology changes very fast. The developers need to know more about the new knowledge in time and make full use of their existing industry knowledge to build the latest application. Of course, our sensors device gets the environmental data and then just upload it to our customer's own server through the gateway. The customers can analyze and make reasonable decisions by themselves. To share some benefits with anybody about this starter kit, we have the Bluetooth tags for the asset tracking. As you can see the picture, we have different tags with different size and functions like removal alert and monitoring, something like that. We also got the tags for the personnel tracking to make sure the people's safety and improve management efficiency. And here's one more thing. As you can see in the picture on the left, the white sensor you can see that is the environmental sensor to monitor the temperature and humidity around. So this is basically a comprehensive starter kit just to help our customers, especially startup company. They need to focus on their ideas. They can just quickly verify their ideas. They need a POC tags at the first beginning. They don't want to spend a lot of time in figuring out what kind of devices are suitable for them if they want to do something about the asset tracking for the warehouse. So these are the what we brought today for anybody on spot. So could Navigine share some the cloud platform information with anybody? And
Yes, yes. So, talking about Navigine, we act as a top-layer solution combining Minew hardware with Navigine-developed web platform for asset monitoring and management. So the tracking platform itself has a number of capabilities that are especially targeted to solve objectives and the challenges that Ethan previously discussed that mostly arise at the warehouse. And talking about the particular features that the Navigine platform has, one of them is the ability to monitor the objects, assets, and personal movements around the shop floor and around the warehouse in real time. And that comes especially handy then, for instance, the forklifts. That's a very common use case. So we have a forklift that is moving around the warehouse in an organized manner, and we rarely understand at which particular point a forklift is at the moment. So let's say an employee decides to use one, and they cannot locate one anything near them. So they have to lose time, go into the nearest unused forklift, and walking around the warehouse chaotically. But with the platform, it is possible to locate the forklift at the point and at the moment of time, then and in an exact spot that the forklift is at the moment. Then aside from that, it is a very common use case. Then we have to track pallets, for example, at the warehouse, and we have lots and lots of pallets, and for example, those pallets have to be divided into various groups because they hold different items. For example, if they're talking a fulfillment center, those can be automotive details, maybe some engines, and then we would also have let's say plush toys, and we need to divide those pallets, and we need to understand which are where each group of pallets are at the moment, and that is also possible to do inside the platform. And moreover, sometimes for some instances, it is very important to understand whether an object has actually left the premises. And in that case, we can also see where the forklift or a trolley is outside the warehouse premises at the moment. So moving on to the other feature is the notification. So notifications are triggered based on the particular zone inside the warehouse that an object is at a moment. So here, the notifications, what we can understand is whether an object is not being used. So let's say we have a forklift, we have, let's say, three forklifts. They have to be used simultaneously at the very same time, but the workers are only using two of them. So with notifications, we are capable to detect the forklift not being used and also detect its particular location around the warehouse to understand how it can be better uh, utilized. Then another pretty common use case is when objects are, for example, pallets are not placed in the dedicated areas, or let's say um, we have cars, very common use case for parking for warehouses. The cars are stopped. That we have to understand that each car has a dedicated place, and sometimes they are not placed in a correct location. So the employees further have to find the position and position the car. So here, with notification, it is possible to understand at the very moment then something goes wrong. And the last feature, which is analytics. So data has become, I believe, one of the most important things right now for the management of the system and for the operations. So with analytics, it is possible to not only understand the object has been through a particular period of time, but also improve the operation. So let's say we are able to understand which zones are not being used, or which equipment is not being used. Or maybe we can also detect some key performance indicators. Maybe someone at the warehouse does not perform well, or spends too much time in the area that they have no access to. So all those features can be uh, implemented with the platform. And moreover, what else we can do is it is possible to integrate all the features of the platform into the third-party warehouse management system or inventory management system, and get an additional boost to the already existing uh, solution that the company has installed at the moment. So I believe that is all for my part, and we are ready to answer your questions. So give me a moment, I'll check the chat for the questions. Okay, I see that there is a number of them in chat.
Margarita, let me start
Yeah.
while reading the questions. So I will start from the last one. Is there any opportunity to integrate the Navigine tracking platform with external system? Yes, system is developed by Navigine from scratch. We develop all the parts of the system, and we do have an API, and description of this API is published at our documentation portal. And you should use this API to integrate our data streams, our features with external platform. Yeah, it's possible.
See a lot of questions coming up.
Yeah. So, Eason, I think there is a question for you. So, is it possible to track tags in 3 dimensions with Minew IoT starter kit?
Sorry.
So, there is a question. Is it possible to track tags in 3 dimensions with Minew IoT starter kit?
Yeah. Mention.
Isn't. Let me help you here. I think the question is, so usually when we talk about asset tracking, we track in a two-dimensional, I mean on the floor level, yeah? As it shows on the slide, it just so we position all the object on a flat floor, yeah, without height. And the question is it possible to track it and detect the height? For example, if you have a multi-level warehouse where you should also understand not only the aisle and position inside the aisle, but also height. And I think the answer here is that with the starter kit that we presented today, it's very easy to deploy and ready to go IoT starter kit, which provides simple two-dimensional solution. But if we are talking about more precise solution, we should mention here angle of arrival starter kit, which you are now working on. So, and I think with the help of the angle of arrival starter kit, it is possible to detect a three-dimensional position of an object. But yeah, you could add here something from about your development of AOA solution.
Yeah, I think for the asset tracking, as for your questions, this starter key, as we show, just show some typical ones. If customers need other products, we can certainly provide, including the customized service. However, we just suggest developers first verify the feasibility of their solutions based on our ready-made standard products, and deploy a certain number of tags for best positioning performance. Of course, the covering radius range of our gateway in this starter kit is over 100 meters, but also depending on the broadcast range of the tag. Talking about the AOA, the angled arrival, it's another starter kit, not in this kit. So if you want to deploy the AOA solutions, it's totally not a story, because the principle of the technology is it's different. So and um, any questions for any questions for me?
Um, okay, so I think there is a question that is mainly for us from Salud. What is the accuracy of the IoT localization? So if we're talking about the uh, accuracy of the demo kits for warehouses, then in this particular case, we are looking at the zone level accuracy, and that is approximately 5 to 10 meters, depending on the signal strength.
And there are some more questions on the hardware part. So how many gateways we should put in a common warehouse to have this 5 to 7 meters accuracy? And I would say that all depends on the topology of the building, but the rule of thumb is that you should put from 4 to 7 gateways per 1,000 square meters. And one more question is, if you have a lot of text, for example, 3,000 text in a small room, is it possible to detect it with one gateway? And here the answer is that yes, it's possible, but you should set up the text correctly. So the text has a lot of different features and settings, and you don't need to set up to transmit information, let's say 10 times per second. If you will put them, let's say one time per 5 seconds or one time per 10 seconds, or even they only will transmit when they move, in that case, there will be no problem with 3,000 assets in a small room. Ethan, do you have something to add here? There's a number of texts.
Yeah. As for these questions, how many devices can be transmitted to the gateway at the same time? That is the throughput questions. The throughput of the gateway is it's around 300 packets per second. Theoretically, it's not a problem to support 100 to 300 the Bluetooth Low Energy devices at the same time. And according as for the accuracy, it requires it depends on the algorithms and or the number of the gateways you deploy on the site or on the spot. It changes different accuracies as you deploy different numbers of the gateway, yeah, in scenarios.
Okay, next group of question is about the pricing and integration of Navigine software. So what is the cost of integration? So the answer here is that you could integrate it with the third-party software for free. I mean, it's not no additional cost. You could just buy a license, and based on that license, you could integrate it with the third-party software. If some work will be required from Navigent side, we usually provide it on time and material basis. That's the answer. And one more question is, how can I use floor plan UI work with my website? API or iframe tag? Both options possible. You could use API. It's a much complicated approach, but iframe is much easier. You could contact us, or we will contact you after the webinar and give you some examples of how it could be done. We have a partner which creates white label solution using our map UI part. Okay, so let's find the next question here.
So I think there is a question for Ethan. So are Minew BOE tags compatible with Cisco 9100 series BOE capable access points?
The Cisco 9100 series, the Minew tags is developed based on the standard BOE protocols. It can be received by the most part of the gateways on this market. But I got to double check with the engineer to see if the protocol is compatible with the Cisco 9100 series. Yeah. I think it's yes. The answer is yes. Yeah.
And we have a similar question here. What Bluetooth is being used and how does it track the beacons? So the solutions that we are now discussing is usually based on RSSI principles. Yeah? So it's just a BLE packet and the gateway detects RSSI value. And this scheme works from Bluetooth 4.0. So everything is compatible with Bluetooth 4.0 or higher standards will work. So very easy and very simple. So one more interesting question I see here, it's for Ethan. Ethan, could you please tell us more about my new plans for asset tracking hardware? What are your future plans for next maybe 6 months?
Yeah. About the new plans for Minew, in terms of the exit tracking, we are doing a lot of things besides the indoor service and products. We are going to develop a series of outdoor products. Like the LTE or the LoRa, the GPS, and more sensor technologies, including the MEMS. And of course, the indoor use cases is the most part of our what we're doing, like the angled arrival or UWB, some technologies like that. Not just the RSSI, that is the pretty much traditional technology we're using and selling. And yeah, new things needs to be done in the future, and especially for the next 6 months. If anyone interested, you can contact our team to know more about the details. Yeah, I see the questions coming up. Is that possible to have indoor and outdoor navigation in one system? Yeah, it seems like the questions for the navigation.
Yes, thank you, Ethan. Yeah, the answer for this question, is it possible to have indoor and outdoor simultaneously? The answer is yes. So the gateways that Minew provides, they could have different covering. It could be indoor covering, and as well, especially for the outdoor scenarios, you could put these gateways outdoors, and it will work indoor and outdoor. I mean, it's a radio-based method. It doesn't really matter is it indoor or not. You just need to select the correct covering of the gateways, if it's not in extreme weather conditions, yeah, or the very low temperature, yeah, it could be a problem. But in normal scenarios, it will work indoor and outdoor. And one more question for you, for Ethan. Has
Yeah,
Minew do you have a plan to integrate Minew gateways with Cisco DNA spaces?
Um, interesting questions. We have already worked with the Cisco DNA space. We have already put some sensors like our S1 or the tag BLE tags into this Cisco DNA space ecosystems, and you can check it out in the Cisco official website just to see our product listed. Yeah, the answer is yes. We have already done that.
And one more question for you, Ethan, regarding the angle arrival tags and gateways. So, what external factors should be considered when installing? So, glass, walls. Do you experiment already with the different environmental barriers? Let's say it like this.
How long, right?
No, I mean,
Um,
yeah. The question is so. How walls, glass walls, different pylons, or I don't know, aisles in a warehouse affect the quality of a signal, angle
all right.
light.
Okay, understood. You mean the reflection, right? Reflection in
Yeah,
the
reflection
really
and
a
wall
significant
penetration.
environment. Um, it depends on the actual environment you deploy. Uh, for the testing in our labs and our feedbacks from the customers, the gateways can cover over the radius like the 80 meters or around 100 meters like that. But it depends on the BLE tax broadcasting actually in a such the real environment reflection. But I recommend it one gateway just collects data from the no more than 300 tags at the same time because you got to consider the performance of the total solutions.
Okay. Um, and we have two questions about scenarios where we have a lot of assets. One question is, I have a scenario of 1,000 plus assets moving in a busy warehouse. This will exceed the maximum reading per second of the gateway. Is it still possible to read them all without collision?
I'm sorry, which one? I'm
Uh,
checking out the questions.
okay. So while you're checking out, I could start answering. You're right, 1,000 assets, it's a huge amount, but usually when it's moving, they're spread it inside the warehouse. They're not in one fixed place. And this means that they're detected by different gateways. And the amount of text which is detected by one gateway is significantly lower. And this will not affect. I think that 1,000 is really good a number and it will be supported. And the second question is from Rolf. Can you give me an example of how many gateways will be required to cover an example warehouse? And here, Rolf, what I could say is that let's connect after the webinar. We will need the floor plan of the warehouse, and we will provide you with a map of position, what is the best way to position gateways in such a warehouse, and you will
Yeah.
understand how many gateways you need. So the final decision always requires a map of the warehouse where our engineers could provide you the best places where you could put the gateways.
Yeah, I just see the questions from um, the art, right, Mr. Art. How long can this kit be used in the stable working conditions? That questions for me, I can answer that questions. Depending on the customer's real use cases, the higher frequency for the broadcasting, more energy will be consumed. So by default, it's basically 2 to 3 years for the small text in this starter kit, and around 3 to 5 years for the big one. As you can check it out, the slides. You know, and of course, one of the tags support battery replaceable, and the gateway. The gateway is connected to a DC power and it can be used for a long time. So that is the questions that I can answer for the Mr. Audit, right?
So guys, let's have two more questions.
A lot
Ethan,
of questions.
yeah, I have one question for you. So how small the beacon can be?
How small? Maybe 30 million meters. That small. Can check it out. This picture, as you can see, uh, the MBT01. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Yep.
That is around 30 million meters long and up to 20 million meters wide. That is small tech for the asset tracking. There's a tamper-proof or the removable alert functions on that.
Okay. And
Yeah.
the last question goes to Navigine. So does the Navigine platform supports 3D maps? Roland, yes. The simple answer is yes. We have a support of 3D maps. We don't have an editor which allows you to create a 3D maps, but if you already have a 3D maps, you could upload it to our platform. So, Margarita, I think we should finalize. I think we answered almost all of the questions. If not, we will contact directly the person who will ask us a question. I see here that question.
Yeah, if there's any other questions or if you have interested, please contact our service team to get more details. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, you're always welcome to reach out to us and discuss in more details any requirements or any questions that you have to the systems.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ethan, Margarita. Thank you very much to all attendees. I hope it was a fruitful conversation and useful for all of us. Let's keep in touch and see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ethan, for presenting. It was brilliant.
Thanks, Margarita. Thanks for having me.
So, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, and I think bye, bye, guys. Till next time.
Yeah.